A saga of breaking away from toxic parents. In short, my parents have lied, used gaslighting, manipulated, and done other bad things in the past. Before, it was because my daughter has celiac disease and they said they would follow her diet. But then they gave her things with gluten and told her they were gluten-free. We put them in timeout for a month or two, and then we had a discussion with them. We put a lot of rules in place, and if they didn't follow them, they would lose their grandparent privileges. They keep all of the grandchildren every Friday night because families should stick together, and they want to see them and spend time with them. Plus, it gives you guys a break. That does not give me a break. What I get is driving 3-4 hours round trip to meet my parents halfway, then waiting for them to call and having to drop things at the last minute because they know we live further away, but won't give us an hour's notice like we've asked many times. I can't make plans for Saturdays. Then, we drove back and forth for more than 3 hours, plus the price of gas, but they want to hang out with their cousins, so we let them. Also, the older grandchildren only go to see each other, so if my kids don't go, neither do my sister's kids. So the grandparents don't see any kids on Friday night. My mom called me last night. My father had a mild heart attack. She said, he's fine. He had a 35% ejection fraction and congestive heart failure. His blood pressure is going down because of the medicines he is taking. But the doctors are working on it. I had to know what hospital it was. Oh no, you just don't get it. Dad is healthy. It happened between 4 and 6 months ago. 4 months ago, they found out what was wrong. I learned something important after talking to my mom and thinking about it. On Fridays, my dad picks up my kids. When I had to take my oldest to the doctor, my kids begged my dad to watch them for a week. He was by himself with a 5-year-old kid and no other adults. I explained to my mom in a cool way that they've known for months, but they're only telling me now because he's been driving my kids around all this time. So, yes, we knew you were going to do this. I told her that I had a right to know because it was my job to make sure that my children were not put in dangerous situations. My mom brushed it off, saying that they would never put my kids in danger or hurt them because she likes to gaslight. I asked her what would have happened if Dad had had a heart attack and crashed, killing my kids. She then told me that she couldn't talk to me if I was going to be like this. I told her to have a good day and hung up. DH said to wait 3 months and then we could talk. He thinks that giving them 3 months would show them that we mean business. I'm so lost, I won't lie about it. I'm angry. I want to be sad about my dad's failing health, but I can't because they took away my choices because they know better. It was a trick, and this is just more gaslighting. Both of my parents came from very bad families. If someone had called CPS back then, they would have given my dad's parents an emergener. They worked really hard to stop the abuse and did a great job. This is one reason why I'm confused. I'm sure they're trying. But trying is no longer good enough. This is a different but important post and it's titled, I caused my father to have a heart attack. What do I do? Well, she didn't tell my dad. So, Dad kept asking if the girls were going to come this weekend. I finally answered. Based on what I talked about with my mom last week, it was decided that the girls would stay home for the time being. He was accused of things, and he told me he didn't want me to know because I had given him a heart attack. I told him that the timeout is because he had been lying for 10 months. I told him that it was up to me to decide whether he was strong enough to drive my kids after he had a heart attack and was in CHF. If anyone in the family has the right to decide who drives their kids around, it would be me, the RN who is their mom. I also told him he couldn't trick people anymore. I was the bigger person and didn't say, I didn't cause your CHF because I didn't give you your genes and I didn't give you the food you ate for the past 60+ years. I didn't make you smoke for 30 years or make you weigh 350 pounds. I didn't keep you from doing anything for the past 5 years. All of those are your fault. I'm not even going to finish reading his message or the ones he sent after it. I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. He says she never got gluten from them. He doesn't remember the conversation where he said he did it or the many times we caught him and told him not to do it, even though he said he wouldn't. We think he's getting dementia because he's had a lot of head injuries over the years, like a head-on crash at 55 miles per hour and falling off an oil rig from 30 feet up. Before anything happened in November, I asked my mom if my dad was forgetting things. She said no, that people forget things as they get older. But, sure, they are in timeout and won't be able to play with the kids without being watched. I'm totally lost. I'd like to get along with my parents. People get older. They are going to die soon. But this is not good for you. Apparently what caused the heart attack was when I told them they were killing her and it could kill her. I fully understand. They both might be. My mom hasn't shown any symptoms. I see more signs that she is lying or trying to trick people. So here's the main point. My parents hate rules and limits. They think they can say anything they want about my kids. X. During the outbreak, doctors told us that our child had celiac disease. My parents had been feeding our oldest a gluten-free diet for a while, so we didn't think much of it when they started feeding their little ones the same way. Long story short, we found out that my parents had been giving my little ones gluten because I wanted them to be sick like me, and if you take away a food for a long time, that's how people get allergies. We took a break so I could calm down. Then we had a meeting called Come to Jesus, where I laid out the rules. The rules were agreed upon. If the kids broke the rules, they wouldn't be able to visit without an adult there. Well, I found out 10 months later that my dad had a heart attack and was in congestive heart failure because of it. They kept it hidden for 10 months. The same old thing. He's good. They are justified because I wouldn't have let the kids go with my dad if he was driving, and they have a right to the kids. He also blamed me for his heart attack, even though he ate 2 or 3 meals from McDonald's every day when he was working, weighed 350 pounds, didn't move much, ate a lot of sugar, and lived a generally unhealthy life. During our talk about gluten, I told them that one of the rules was that they couldn't lie. My dad said they didn't tell us, so it wasn't a lie. I told him that he was the one who taught me that leaving out important facts was lying by omission, and that this was a good example of that. Then he said I was angry and trying to keep them in line. I put us in another timeout because I needed a break. When the timeout was over, only controlled visits would be allowed. He still called me every week to ask if he was coming to get the girls. I didn't care because ... timeout. Lastly, he talks about how my nephew acted like something was wrong, only to find out that my nephew wants to know when my kids will return. My husband got a job out of state while we were on timeout. We are going out of state. Ouch. The catch is this. A few weeks before the pandemic hit, my husband and I talked about the possibility of him moving out of the country for work. When the pandemic hit, of course, that plan fell apart. My parents were upset before it happened, saying things like, "How could you do that to us? We have the right to see our grandchildren. Family comes first no matter what. You're hurting the kids by not letting them see their family often." And, my favorite, we can sue for grandparent rights. I don't want to deal with being blamed. I don't want to get in the middle of the fight. I just want it to be finished. So what's wrong with sending a text instead of calling? Comments that matter. Details on the gluten-free diet and who made the diagnosis. I am sorry. The doctors said it was celiac disease. My parents had been feeding my older child a gluten-free diet, so we thought it wouldn't be hard for them to feed my youngest child the same way. For the older one, they do what it says. My father told me that they were giving her small amounts of gluten so she wouldn't get an allergy, and that they had chosen that we put her on a gluten-free diet because I was sick and lonely and wanted others like me. I'm allergic to things and can't eat gluten. I have no celiac disease. But, sure, why gluten-free oldest? She has gluten ataxia, which is similar to celiac disease. It goes after the brain stem instead of the bowels. When she eats gluten, she stops being able to walk. We do have proof of medical care. Don't leave them alone with your children. They will never again be able to get in without being watched. I have stopped that completely. My father told me that he will never do controlled visits, so I took a deep breath and did what Reddit said ... then you won't see them again. Any mail, any phone calls, any live chats, all of them will be watched, including any mail order gifts that come for them. All of them will be opened, read, and looked over ahead of time. When people are in trouble, my mom likes to send them cards and gifts. No matter what anyone says, we love you. It hurts us to have to live without you. Then she sends a girly gift to the girly little girl ... and a very pretty gift for the oldest, who is a tomboy. She can solve Rubik's Cubes, do some Ninja Warrior stuff, and go mountain biking. My mom sends her origami flowers and adult coloring books with girly themes like lipstick and makeup. From now on, everything will be watched. Don't tell them your new home or invite them over. I feel bad about it, but I don't want them to come see me. I have never felt at home in any of our nice houses. All of them had been foreclosed on, but they were so beautiful and only cost half as much. I've always felt like I had to tell people that we could never buy something so nice. My husband said I was talking, but I didn't feel like I had anything to brag about. Then my husband asked, "What do you think your parents would say about the new house we picked out?" And I said, "Mom will tell me it's nice and that she deserves it, but my dad never loved her enough to give her something like this." Then my dad will say it's nice, but it's going to cause so many problems because my mom will want him to make changes to their double wide, which will lead to fights and him spending thousands of dollars for her to say it's not good enough. So thank you. And then I realized, every home, the same thing happened. They have more right to it. It's not fair to me. And I realized they're the reason I never feel like I deserve a nice home. Why do you stay in touch with them? To be honest, it wasn't until I joined Reddit and started reading things that made me say, that's toxic as hell, get out. Let me tell you about the time my parents did Zais. After hearing a few of these answers, I began to realize that what my parents said they did out of love and family duty was actually harmful. I am trying to do it. I'm getting closer and closer to the no-touch rule with each problem. I'm hoping that once I start setting limits, they'll start to see that their actions are wrong and what caused the problems. We've chosen to tell them after my husband has moved or is about to leave so he can be there. We'll wait a week or two, but he'll set up our new residency the next day, so before they can do anything, we'll be official new residents of the state. They can't get an address because, well, we don't have one yet. We've always said, you take care of your family, and I'll take care of mine. But ... you help me see. He can deal with them once I tell him. I'm fine with that, too. And my new home will not make me feel embarrassed or ashamed. It will be lovely. It will be amazing. It will be a place where I make a lot of memories, and this time they won't ruin it for me.